My husband Charles passed away on a rainy Tuesday in October, the kind of quiet, cold day that settles deep into your bones. He'd been ill for months, lung cancer, but nothing prepares you for that final breath. I held his hand until the end, whispering prayers and memories into his ear, hoping he could still hear me. He was 68. We had been married for just under 14 years. I was his second wife. He had a son from his first marriage, a man named Tyler, who had never truly accepted me. I tried. God knows I tried. But Tyler always looked at me with suspicion, as if I were just waiting for Charles to die so I could swoop in and steal the money. He'd never said it out loud, but his cold eyes and fake smiles said enough. Charles had always said, "Don't worry about Tyler, sweetheart. I've taken care of everything." But the vague reassurance didn't comfort me, especially not after the funeral. Tyler showed up late to the service, wearing sunglasses indoors, as if he were mourning too hard to be seen. In reality, I think he just didn't want to make eye contact with me. He didn't sit near me, didn't speak to me, didn't hug me. Instead, after the ceremony, he pulled me aside near the church parking lot and said something I'll never forget. "You should probably start packing." I blinked, stunned. I beg your pardon." He crossed his arms and smirked. "Dad didn't put your name on the house. This was always going to be mine. You had your time, it's over." My breath caught in my throat, not from sadness but from the sheer audacity. "I've lived there for 14 years, I said, barely holding my voice steady. "That's my home, legally." "We'll see," he shrugged. "But don't make it ugly. I've already spoken to someone about the estate. Let's just keep this clean." I stared at him in disbelief. He leaned in, lowering his voice. "You got what you wanted. You got your years with him. Now it's time for you to move on." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. Instead, I did exactly what Charles had asked me to do. 1 week before he passed, I went to the lawyer. Charles was many things: loving, intelligent, old-fashioned, but above all, he was thorough. He had sensed what Tyler might do. In fact, he predicted it perfectly. "Tyler's going to assume he gets everything," Charles had said to me quietly during one of his last hospital visits, "but I've written it all down. You'll go to Morris, my lawyer. He'll show you the paperwork," and he had every detail. 2 days before the funeral, while Charles lay in the hospital for what would be the last time, I sat in a quiet office with Mr. Morris. He handed me a thick manila folder. "Your husband updated his will last year," he said, adjusting his glasses. "After his health began to decline, everything is in order." I opened the file with trembling hands. Charles had left me everything: the house, the business, the savings, even a life insurance policy I hadn't known existed for $150,000. Sitting in a trust in my name, Tyler was mentioned briefly. Charles had left him a classic Mustang from the garage and $5,000 and one sentence: "Greater than I love my son." But I cannot reward cruelty with inheritance. Now, standing there in the church parking lot, listening to Tyler tell me to pack my bags, I understood why Charles had done what he did. I didn't say a word. I simply nodded and said, "I'll be in touch." Tyler scoffed. "Good. The sooner you're out, the better." The next morning, I called Mr. Morris and asked him to initiate the probate process and notify Tyler of the will's contents. "Expect anger," he warned. "He may try to fight it, but the documents are airtight." "Let him try," I said quietly. That week, I returned home to find Tyler already on the porch. He had a locksmith beside him. "You don't live here anymore," he shouted, waving a paper. I stepped past them calmly, unlocked the front door, and turned to the locksmith. "If you touch my door again, I'll call the police." Tyler shoved the paper in my face. "This says the house is under my dad's name. And this," I said, pulling out a certified copy of the will from my purse, "says he left it to me." His smirk faltered. He grabbed it and read. He turned pale. The fight that followed wasn't in fists or screams. It was paperwork, legal filings, and bitter emails. Tyler tried everything. Claimed I manipulated Charles, that he was mentally unfit, that I was a gold digger. But Charles had planned for that too. There were video recordings, psychiatric evaluations, letters, witnesses. Every claim Tyler made shot down in court. I stayed silent through most of it. Not because I was weak, but because I knew that silence was stronger than shouting. Because sometimes justice doesn't come in fire. It comes in calm, measured, and irrevocable action. 1 month later, I received official confirmation. The house, the business, the insurance, and the trust accounts all legally mine. Tyler had nothing left but a dusty Mustang and the shame of losing to the woman he tried to kick out. He showed up one last time, this time at my doorstep, not with a locksmith, but with tears. "I didn't know he'd do that," he muttered, refusing to meet my eyes. I thought, "You were just here for the money." "I was here for him," I said. "You were the one thinking about money?" He nodded slowly. "I messed up. Yes, I said. You did. Are you going to kick me out of everything? He asked, his voice breaking. Even the business. I looked at him, really looked. He wasn't a boy anymore. He wasn't even a man. Not yet. He was just a broken soul who thought money would fix what years of bitterness had built. I'm not going to kick you out, I said. But you'll start from the bottom, and if you want a role in the business, you'll earn it just like everyone else. His eyes widened. You'd let me work there? I nodded under me. No shortcuts, no special treatment. That's the only way. He swallowed hard. Okay, and for the first time since Charles died, I saw a flicker of humility in Tyler's eyes. To be continued. In part 2, Tyler tries to rebuild what he once tried to take by force. But as he works under his stepmother's supervision, he learns more than just business. He learns what real loyalty, love, and legacy look like. And he's forced to confront the truth about his father's final decision. It had been nearly 6 months since Tyler first walked into the company as a junior associate. The man who once tried to throw me out of the house had been humbled on, was now beginning to learn the value of patience, hard work, and legacy. But something in me still held back. I'd forgiven him, yes, but trust, Trust takes longer to grow back than love. One spring afternoon, I was sitting in Charles's old office, now mine, reviewing quarterly reports, when Clara, our no-nonsense operations manager, walked in. You need to see this, she said, holding up a set of reports. It's Tyler's team performance. I braced myself. Is there a problem? She shook her head, smiling for once. He's your best department now. Lowest error rate. Most hours logged. He's mentoring the interns. I even caught him cleaning out the supply room during lunch. I blinked. He cleaned something voluntarily. Clara chuckled. He's turning into you. That gave me pause. Not long ago he was turning into the very kind of man his father feared. Entitled, reckless, careless with people's trust. Now he was changing, not overnight. Not perfectly, but steadily. That evening I returned home and poured myself a cup of tea, Charles's favorite blend. I sat by the window in our garden watching the tulips bloom, and thought of how far we'd come since the funeral, and how quiet revenge isn't about destroying someone, it's about teaching them what they tried to ignore. I thought about Charles's letter, the one he left me to open when I needed strength. I had opened it months ago, but now I read it differently. This time with a calm heart. Help him become a better man, Charles had written. Not for me, for himself. Was it possible Tyler had done just that? A few weeks later, I decided to test him. I invited him to dinner, not at the house, but at his favorite barbecue spot downtown. Casual, easy. We ate slow and talked business, staff, and marketing strategies. But halfway through, I asked something unexpected. What would you have done with the inheritance? If you'd gotten it all back then? He froze. Put down his fork. I'd probably have ruined it, he said after a moment. I would have sold the business, bought a condo I couldn't afford, traveled until the money ran out, then blamed you when it did. I nodded. You've thought about this before. Every day, he admitted, and I'm sorry again. He looked down. You didn't deserve what I did to you. I let the silence sit. Sometimes, silence speaks more than scolding ever could. Then I said, that's why I didn't give it to you. He looked up. You think I'm ready now? I think you're becoming someone your father would have been proud to partner with. He didn't cry, but his eyes glistened. Over the next few months, I gave Tyler small signs of trust first. I let him lead a major client presentation. Then I allowed him access to one of the mid-tier bank accounts for emergencies. He never overstepped, never took more than he was offered, and never asked, how much am I getting? Ever again. That's when I knew he was ready. One rainy Monday morning, I called my lawyer. Update the will, I said. I restructured the trust upon my passing. Tyler would receive 40% of the company, 25% of the estate, and full rights to the home as long as he kept working in the business, stayed financially clean, and continued active community service. The rest would go to Charles's Veterans Foundation. 2 scholarships in both of our names, and our church. I didn't tell Tyler, not yet. I wanted him to keep walking the path, not rush toward the finish line. Then something happened that tested us all. One of our key clients, Midwest Pharma, backed out of a long-standing contract due to budget cuts. It would have cost us over $2 million in projected revenue. Staff whispered that layoffs were coming. Morale dropped. Everyone looked to me to fix it, but before I could even open my mouth, Tyler stood up. I'll handle it, he said. And he did. He personally visited the client's headquarters, reviewed contracts, offered them a lower logistics package, and got them to sign a revised 12-month deal. We didn't lose the account, we just adjusted the sales. And for the first time, Staff started calling him Mr. Mitchell, not just the boss's son. Later that night, I sat across from Tyler in the break room. You didn't have to do that, I told him. I would have understood. He shook his head. I owed you more than just words. I owed you action. Then he looked up at me and said something I'll never forget. You were never the intruder, you know. I just didn't want to share my dad. But you made me realize he gave me more than I ever saw. A few days later, I finally gave him the new trust documents. He sat in my office, silent, reading each page. When he got to the last clause, the part about the 40% stake, he looked up, stunned. I don't deserve this, he whispered. No, I replied, you earned it. Then I smiled, and you'll keep earning it every day. He nodded, tears threatening to spill. I won't fail you again. You didn't fail me, I said gently. You failed yourself, and then you came back stronger. These days, Tyler runs most of the business. I still come in mostly for the garden view from Charles's old office and to check on the staff, but I've started taking time for myself again. Painting, traveling, hosting dinners. Tyler visits often. Not for money, just to talk, laugh, ask for advice. He even brings his fiancée now, a kind woman named Elise. I like her. She asked me once, how did you forgive him after everything? And I told her, because his father asked me to. And because I saw who he could become. And maybe that's the real power of quiet revenge, not to destroy someone who wronged you, but to show them who they could have been all along.